You're listening to Supply Chain Unlocked. Get exclusive insights from industry leaders on overcoming.
In this episode of Supply Chain Unlocked, I managed to screw up the company at the beginning of the video, so let me correct that now. The company name is Silverscreen Decoration and Fulfillment. Daniel Frank, the CEO, shares his journey in the supply chain industry, discussing his transition from corporate America to owning the decoration and fulfillment company. He emphasizes the importance of integrating technology, particularly AI, into the supply chain processes to enhance efficiency and customer onboarding. The conversation also covers marketing strategies, the challenges faced in the supply chain industry, and the significance of leadership and company culture in fostering productive work environment. Daniel highlights the need for effective forecasting and demand planning to optimize operations and reduce costs, ultimately aiming to create a value beyond mere decoration services. Let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Supply Chain Unlocked. Daniel, tell us a little bit about your company, how you got here. We did a little pre-podcast conversation on where you purchased the company, etc. So I'll just hand it over to you. Give us a little bio there.
Sure. Started out, graduating university, finding the profession that fit what I like to do, and I ended up in supply chain. Really, what's mostly called third-party logistics, warehousing, distribution, ocean freight, air freight, custom brokerage. You name it, we did it. I worked my way up to the CEO level for 3 companies. And at about 55 years old, living in LA, traveling a whole lot, being in corporate America, I really felt like it was time to get closer to home. Reno, Nevada, where the company I bought is very close, about an hour from my hometown of 1,900 people. I was in Colfax, California. And, really also I had elderly mother that was passing, which she has, but wanted to be close to her. And so it's really worked out. I didn't know what I wanted to buy, but I just wanted to stay in the supply chain business. I bought a decoration and fulfillment company, which we print only on wearables, and we embroider. We have digital technology, so on and so forth. It was small, about 2.5 million, I think, something like that. We're probably going to do 12 or 13 this year, so we've obviously grown. COVID was a bit of a curveball, so we had a couple of years of kind of recovery, but it's been very successful. I was just telling somebody, I think I love what I do. It's really nice to be entrepreneurial again, but I love the industry. It's fairly complex. And, what I was telling you before is what I've brought to the company is really a supply chain mindset, really worrying about solutions outside of decorating and trying to help the customer do that.
Excellent. And how long was it 6 years before you started or bought the business?
Yes, sir. Yep. 6 years.
And then, sorry, you piqued my interest because you come from a 3PL. I worked previous for XPO,
Yep.
and GXO, if you know those on the supply chain side. So very
Yes.
familiar with that business, as well as I continue to be working with 3PLs with my current project management and contract there. So what types of what do you bring to the table for the new company? You said supply chain and you purchased it, so you're the CEO. Is your real focus on supply chain, or are you getting more into the marketing side?
Yeah, good question. I have 5 very capable managers, so they run 5 obviously different departments that do things from embroidery to screen print to digital technologies to logistics and fulfillment and inventory management and picking. So all that last department is new. We didn't do any of that. I'm the face of the company, so I onboard the customers. It's not really in our style is not really sales, but more marketing on what we do and, generating interest in regards to who's looking to, get a more solid solution. And when I say solid, it's not a critical statement, but if you think about most decorators, they may be doing embroidery, they may do screen print, they may do maybe a different style, but they're very much segmented in their decoration style. We try to do all things. We do sewing, obviously a lot of different digital technologies was coming on. But I think the question that you had is that I also really looked at items like forward stocking, inventory planning, projecting orders, working with suppliers, drop shipping. Fulfillment's a big thing. We also do what we call VAS, which is tagging and bagging and drop shipping directly to large retailers so that it doesn't have to go back to a DC. And with my background, I really was curious why a lot of the decorated garments were going back to the DCs than to go to the stores. So really trying to make the supply chain more efficient.
So there's some good opportunities there. Let's
Yes.
stick with the onboarding of customers. And because I have the AI company, I have a tendency to start asking, what are you doing in AI? But how do you go about onboarding customers? Is there automation? Is there not? Are there how many humans are involved, or what is the typical customer? So let me do a better job of phrasing the question. What's the typical customer? What is a decorator per se for the audience? And then is that onboarding manual or completely AI or automated based?
Actually, that's a great question. One of the advantages I didn't mention is we have a proprietary system, and that's an order management system, which we also call Portal. And so we can ingest for larger customers, basically, CSV files or APIs. We can put that in our system. It gives them visibility to that system. We can go and prepare art or upload art off of libraries that we create for the customer as well. So the industry is a little bit behind on technology as well, and that's really a strength of ours. When you mention AI, we're actually looking at our IP that's on Ruby on Rails. And again, I don't know all the details because we have a team of people. Actually, I just got off the phone. They're really trying to vet out a more AI tech stack. If that makes more sense to you than me, that's great. Can we be 5 times more efficient on development? Can there be more tools for recognition as far as, the response from chats to analysis to questions coming in from customers instead of typing? They type it inside the system on chats, but how do we make that process faster? So I look at AI in 2 ways. I'm not technical, but I'm trying to learn as fast as I can. How can we be more efficient on the front end? And then how can we reduce the development costs and make it much more efficient on the back end or inside the tech stack? So I'm still learning, but we're working on that.
So with that, do you have a IT staff or is it a lot of it outsourced?
We're a big outsource company. I outsource my accounting. We outsource our marketing. We outsource our art management in Honduras. And to answer your question, is we outsource our development as well. Now I do have a project manager on board, but I don't want him to be doing tech. I want him to be managing the partners or the providers for that.
And the reason I'm asking that is these are business conversations where we don't talk I's and O's and all that other stuff when it comes to AI software. I should say tech in general, because so many things with tech and AI need to start, in my opinion, in a business discussion
Yeah.
and figure out what the high level goals are, and then move it to something else. And what I find with many AI projects, I've been working with AI through 2019, 2020, arguably, I would say more like 2020. What I find is so many times we're trying to do these end-to-end solutions and then we hand it over to IT and that's the point of failure right there, because AI is great at solving one little niche and then building upon that. So, with that said, when you look at some of this AI or tech stack that's going to use AI or pieces of it, is there an approach that you take towards that, just from a business perspective, what you're trying to solve? And I'm going to use either onboarding or marketing as a starting point.
Yeah, with the because you've finished with marketing, the marketing company uses AI and he uses agents to learn about the company, and the language is getting. He's been on board for 6 months. It's really very dialed in language now. It understands who we are. I think that's the biggest problem with AI is that you got to spend a lot. And what I'm learning, I was in a seminar and I'm still felt very insecure. So even answering these questions, but I'm learning that you really understand that that AI is a very powerful assistant, right? It will assist in efficiencies, it'll assist in learning and things, but it doesn't learn by itself. It learns through the interaction with the company. So I would agree with you. I think people are scared of AI, or they misunderstand that it's some magic wand. And I think it's a tool. I felt the same way about the internet when it came out. You know, I'm 61, so I remember the days people were scared about the internet. And I said to my friends, I'm going to learn it because it's a tool. I mean, I don't want to be behind in the use of that tool. And if you think about the efficiencies now with our iPhones, I mean, I got my first cell phone when I was in business, right? They handed me this crazy phone that I could leave the office with. So I wish I could answer your question better, but what I'm learning is that just what you said is we've really got to study what our needs are and then ask AI through a process, not AI directly, but how can AI help us in these areas? I've been presented that our tech stack is not as AI friendly as the new tech stack. I'm very skeptical what that means, and I don't understand it, but I'm willing to listen. That's a multi-$100,000 project, so I take that really serious. But I'm open to the idea.
Yeah, and I think that's key as I talk to more people podcast wise. Here's Teddy's words. Teddy's words is this: they don't know where to start. It's just like the internet, right? You're like, I don't think anybody's afraid. It's so big. Where do you start?
Yes.
Is that really where you're finding like what pieces and parts fits together, just like the internet? And it's like, what am I supposed to do here? Is that really what you're feeling, or?
Yeah, I feel like the journey is going to be worthwhile, but to your point, you got to break it down. Like I had a quote from he's an AI engineer and we're contemplating bringing him onto the project, but he said ERPs are going to go away. AI can solve much of those problems. What does that mean? How does it apply? He feels that the order management system we have, integration with our customers, we're a little bit weak on the back end, which ERP obviously is your metrics and a lot of your data. And I don't understand the comment, but I'm sure interested in him, explaining that further.
Yeah.
ERPs in our business are very expensive, right? So
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. So yeah, you're in that path, and if it feels like we're going to take a hard left here for a second, I'm going to speak to a little bit of my experience, and then come back to this ERP and how you're managing the operation internally before we like get to the supply chain inbound or outbound. I like to try to keep it to inbound or outbound in the beginning of the conversation when we talk about the supply chain. Um, but what I've found, and this is coming from the BI or business intelligence approach, so often if the business people can start just in this case prompting and get fluent with how to use ChatGPT or Copilot, Gemini, those types of ones, they get used to what a learning model is and what an agent is. And that piece right there is the big jump. And what I don't mean this to be is me schooling you, it's me just creating the conversation around once the business people get used to like the most simple thing, like developing their own spreadsheet with voice and don't worry about where to click and do equations. That's like the first like hello world if you're a programmer. I don't know if you remember any of that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
but that
yeah,
every programmer says they got on a Mac or a PC and they figured out how to say hello world. For a
yeah.
business person, learning how to prompt or build your own spreadsheet by a voice is a great model into AI thinking. And then if you stay within that one prompt area, it quickly evolves. And I really think that that's a big entrance for business people to start thinking about it. Why does that matter? When you go have conversations, I think you said the AI engineer's name is Art. When you start speaking to them in kind of prompting mindset, there's this magic that comes together that I learned probably 4 years ago that it's just very interesting. Sorry, so I didn't mean to get off on a little tangent there, but
No, it's good.
often people want to go talk about the tech stack and trying to figure out where what little piece fits in with this. supply chain are these pieces of the stack. And frankly, that's the challenge with AI right now is the business people don't really know where to freaking start. They don't even know what we, a lot of times as business people, don't understand what a learning model is. Either it works or it doesn't, right?
Hmm.
Either I type in a SKU and it's in there or it's not, right?
Yeah.
That
No,
kind of
it's very, I would, with full transparency, I still feel very insecure. A lot of things you're saying now I understand, but I haven't executed in those and gotten comfortable, right? So, and I think I delegate sometimes very well and sometimes too much. And I'm feeling like I need to dig into these areas a little bit better.
well, I can already feel that you're a damn good leader in a charismatic way because you already are. There's something already about you. I don't mean this in any flowery sort of way. You already have this. I want to learn and I want to become comfortable. I'm not
Hmm.
resisting and I'm not scared, but I'm telling you that I'm not comfortable, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So it sounds like you got the marketing piece or function rolling a little bit better, or
Yes.
it's more efficient. It's learning. How long have you guys had that going?
We just tried to do it internally for the last 2 years. I think we learned a lot about who we are, what we're trying to message. We changed our name from Silverscreen Printing to Decoration and Fulfillment. We built out kind of our core principles, not on a mission statement type, but really for the customer. What do we do? Why do we do it? We're a solutions company. Bring us your problems, that type of stuff. Well, we were very inconsistent on we use Seamless AI connected with Insightly for our CRM. So we got a good list. We've got a good knowledge of who our customers are or our prospects are. We do retail, we do sports, we do promotional companies or merch. A lot of people call it merch. And then we do uniform companies as well. So construction companies, big ones, right? So we try to identify, we sort those CRMs down by those companies. We sort by them and we have that message is very customized to those companies with those problems because you don't want to send out a blanket email and say we decorate. We decorate for sports companies and we know how to deal with poly and the problem, Nike, we have, we understand the Nike garments and so on and so forth. So that was good. What we were doing very poorly is consistency. So we hired a company that basically has a schedule. We have newsletters once a month. We have, campaigns that go out to those four verticals. We try to use social media, all the social media platforms. We do lots of short videos, fun stuff that, they may want to kind of see a technique or say, hey, welcome back to Silverscreen. We're trying to get a spokesman for that. I'm trying to work internally if you've seen a lot of companies will have kind of that person they see over and over. That was coached by a marketing specialist in Chicago as a seminar. But I think the message I would say is consistency. You've got to develop your message and you got to know who you are and you've got to be able to give the marketing company that. So we didn't waste time doing it internally, but we just couldn't. I would advocate, I've talked to a lot of people and I say outsource your marketing because they're gonna hold the schedule. That's all they do. Marketing tends to, I have a marketing degree and I never went into marketing because I thought about it and I said, this is the least important to the company and the first thing cut. When they say least important in their understanding, I think it's very important, but those things get pushed back when you have a crisis or so on and so forth. So when you outsource it, they don't understand the crisis internally. They just keep chugging, right? Does that make sense? So I'm a big proponent of that.
Well, that and if that marketing company becomes stale, you can evolve to another one where it's very difficult to take and grow a marketing department and
Hmm.
evolve it that doesn't get resistant and potentially stale. And then you end up with a marketing department and you end up farming out the marketing anyhow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very successful. And just so you know, I'm sales adverse. I say this a lot, but I don't mean sales people adverse. But a lot of people use the word sales, and I use the word marketing because I think that telling your story to an audience now with technology, I want inbound interest. Does that make sense? I mean, yes, we have to sell, but I'd like somebody to be a little bit warm when I don't want to cold call somebody or bother them. I don't mind sending them a personalized email, but if they're interested, they'll let me know. Does that make sense?
Oh, that totally makes it. Do
Yeah.
you want to play the marketing game of pulling them in or them coming to you and there's already a warm, they're wanting to develop a relationship as opposed to you cold calling. We don't, none of us likes that, right?
Yeah. So it's maybe just my mentality, but sales feels like the carpet bag guy with the Hoover or what, the old days. But I want to be respectful and I want them to have some interest. And then I'm very sales oriented to listen very carefully and try to see. I also am a very big believer that if we're not a fit, that I should tell the prospect and give them some areas maybe of ideas where to go to find what they're looking for.
So I do actually have a little bit of a roadmap here. So oh, and usually I work through the functions of the company if they're open to it. And we covered marketing and sales, and I think I have that same demeanor as you. I'm not that cold call sales carpetbagger guy, or let's
Yeah.
call it Hoover salesman type.
Yeah.
That's just not in our nature. What do you see as some of the pain points in your industry or your business now shifting a little bit more towards supply chain? And it doesn't have to stick there, because often I see in certain industries the pain point is just within the market itself and doesn't have that much to do with supply chain. Supply chain has to work towards helping fix things within the market or the industry.
Yeah, so kind of a funny story. When I was in 3PL, we just did not want to work with what we called, not a very nice term, but we called it the rag trade. And what the rag trade meant is garments. And the reason why we were a little bit negative is that it seemed to be very chaotic. It has some reasons because basically you've got, they don't even have SKUs. You have to call it styles first, which means the style of the shirt. And then the SKUs are the colors and the sizes and everything else. What you have is if you have one shirt, it could have 12 colors. And of course, it has a plethora of sizes. So you have a real picking problem. You have a real inventory management problem. So, but then I get into this business and I think, well, good, it's got some problems. What I've found is I don't mind dropping a name. I'm working with Bell and Canvas on a large customer to see how we can create forecasts for this customer, because they keep running out of products and then they leave Bell and Canvas and they have to go somewhere else and there's inconsistencies, right? So if we can get a 6-month forecast out of the company, I have a call next tomorrow with them, but they'd never been presented even a partnership between the supplier and the decorator before. But so and then what we're doing as well is we're saying, hey, we'll procure for you. Very common in 3PL. I say, I'll just charge a 10% procurement fee on top, or 8 or 12, or depending on the work that's necessary. But if I can simplify the supply chain, it's all electronic for us, right? And it's easier for us to go ahead and procure those goods. And then, like with Bell and Canvas, where can we forward stock that inventory so that we don't run out? That may seem fairly common for me and you from a supply chain, but that's a whole new concept in the industry. And hopefully we're leading the charge in that.
Yeah, I can tell you from my own experience dealing in anything apparel in the 3PL business. I worked with a very large company northwest of you for a couple
Yeah.
years and doing reverse logistics. Holy smokes, that was a challenge, and it continued. It's still working together today, but I know where you're coming from there. And all right, I'll just say it was Nike.
Yeah.
No, everybody. So speaking of that, a little tangent here. Why is everybody always worried about just saying a brand or whatever? Can we just like talk and continue moving? It is what it is, unless it's under an NDA,
Yeah.
So
And I
you
don't
don't
think Bell and Canvas would be mine that I brought them up either, right? So I don't know. I see a lot of resistance to that. I obviously wouldn't, send my balance sheet to anybody. But
yeah.
when it comes to items of interest and how to create partnerships, I think a little more detail helps the perspective, right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Anyways, I won't stay on that tangent there. But what was the other thing here? I know we're coming up on, what do we got there? 25 minutes. What other challenges do you see in the industry? Let's stick with supply chain. And specifically, I get into, or I shouldn't say that. Generally, we get into how fragmented it is, whether you're working with LTL, full truckload, or just parcels, bringing stuff from overseas, meaning Asia, et cetera. In the supply chain, where do you see the bottlenecks? And is it specific to your industry?
Yeah, so specific to our industry, I have an international supply chain background, but I don't function in that right now. That's really the supplier's problem. What I'm focused on is once the goods are in DC, what's the most efficient to get it to the store or the customer or the location. So the biggest challenge, we talked about inbound. We just talked about inbound. That's pretty weak in the industry. Outbound is also extremely weak. And what I mean is there's a lot of not cost analysis in regards to pretty simple stuff, but LTL versus parcel. So we have rules basically. If it's over 24 boxes or this weight, we're going to go switch to LTL. We implemented that. Customers are saving money. They're happy. That's easy. But believe it or not, if the customer said we would like LTL, we do that. Now we do that internally for the customer. Also, shipping back to a DC in which that DC sends it to their stores or their operations. We have a large construction company with 12,000 employees, and we just started working with them. We were doing the procurement. They were doing it themselves. We solved that. Now we're looking at the outbound. They were bringing it back to their DC and distributing. And so what we're doing is obviously drop shipping to those. It takes some technology. It takes some planning. It takes some work. It takes some communication from the customer. But, transport is a big cost nowadays. I mean, it just keeps going up. And also, why do you want to rehandle those goods, right? So why don't we do but they were bringing back their DC and saying, well, we want to package it with this or package it with that. Just send that stuff to us. We'll go ahead and do that. So now they want to put tumblers and tool bags and lunch boxes with, different things. In fact, I just got email saying, can you add these things to the pack that the employee gets? So now we're doing, I think, so different SKUs that maybe we don't print, but we're bringing them into our warehouse. We're going ahead and adding that to the employee order, if you would, and then they're drop shipping that to their operation right to their hands. It's cutting a couple weeks off of the deliverable, what I call the deliverable, meaning the final product getting to the end user. And also it's reducing costs enormously. And the customer says as well, I'm happy that the customer is happy, but meaning that we've worked through these efficiencies and really trying to, make their life easier. We're managing the product, we're managing the decoration, we're managing the drop shipping, we're avoiding DCs now for them. We've avoided a DC for a large retailer. They were doing all this work in house. They've repositioned those people to do other things. It saves them 20,000 square feet and 20 employees.
It sounds like you're making another 3PL.
But just so you know, I've been asked that, like, you're just basically turning the company into a 3PL. And I know, no, our focus is decorating. I mean, we don't want to go out and build a warehouse for somebody that's going to do that. But to your point, if I want my manufacturing to grow, I've got to add value around both sides of it. And that's the supply chain.
Yeah, well, I'm joking, or I want that to come off humorous, but and I wouldn't apologize about this, and that is what you bring to the strategic table for the company you purchased.
Yes.
Is you're going to naturally evolve it in some attributes like a 3PL, right? Because that's your freaking background, and
Yeah.
you're leveraging that, and you're making that work for your customers. Obviously, it's working. You're making your customer efficient, whether that has 3PL or not. You're just bringing a strategic piece to the table for this business.
This is my DNA, and I tell my team all the time, we don't want to be a commodity. And they're like, why? Because the question is why? Well, it's easier. Yes, it's easier, but it's less profitable. And the answer is why? Because anybody can do it. So why do we want to be the company that competes against everybody else? If we take a solutions mindset and we do the hard things, the customer pays you a premium for that. And
Mhm.
then I boil it down to the employees and say, if we want to make bonuses, we not only have to grow, but we have to grow profitably. So I've been told that we're the highest paid decorator probably in the West. That means the press operators, so on and so forth. They get full medical, they get dental. So all that is paid through the hard work of not being a commodity. And I don't know if that ties together with you, but I say that sometimes people look at me and go, huh? But there's an ROI to the company in that. And then we all get benefit for those things.
Yeah, so let me jump in there. I really like what you're saying. Hopefully, the employees of your company already get it or getting it, whatever it is. But you are truly becoming that high valued player in that industry as a decorator, and going to business school terms. You're building not a Me Too company.
What does that mean?
That's a Me Too company is always essentially a commodity. You
Yes. Okay.
just, anybody can do. embroidery, build items, bring them in and out. But when you add value by doing what you're doing, by helping your customers be more efficient on the inbound of the supply chain and the outbound, you're not just another Me Too company doing embroidery, etc. And I'm just sorry, I'm glancing at your website every once in a while. You're doing so much more because you see what they need. And I don't mean to get on my soapbox here, but that's your big differentiator, and you already know that. And that's why they love you, and you're going to be, or you're already that premier player in that space. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And this may seem critical, and I'm thinking about us, not some competitor or other decorator. Is there's two things you can do: is say this is what we do, or say what are your problems? Why are you calling me? What are the things? Hopefully that marketing generates some conversation, but really listening more than speaking, right? I see in this industry they say, well, we do screen print, we do embroidery, and this is kind of the box we live in. We don't have a box. And you just mentioned the employees. It was hard in the beginning to get people not to go, oh God, Dan has another new idea. And I would tell them it's not my idea, it's the customer's idea. Right. And let's figure out how to solve that. And I use the word sticky. I think that's a word that's fairly common, but we want sticky relationships with our customers. Not only will they pay you a fair price, we're not going to gouge them, but we're gonna make money for that value. But also you know, they could get sold, they could decide to change providers for a lower price provider, but it's going to be difficult for them because of the stickiness of the relationship, right? And by the way, hopefully they feel that way. Not I feel that way, but they feel that way in a good way.
I'll wait till I stop recording to share a story with you because it has two specific names in it. And I was taught the same thing in the 3PL business for creating stickiness. And he was the absolute master at stickiness and with enterprise companies. We'll get to that after we wrap up here in a minute or two. But yeah, and that's probably a real competitive advantage right now. I can look for your competitors a little bit later. I did not do a competitor analysis. I can go on ChatGPT and say it, but we don't need to get into that. You've already, I really like what you're saying because it's difficult to go in and purchase a company and help them evolve.
Yes.
And that is difficult because folks become unsecure. And I deal with that in my other business. My other business is a hired program and project manager. And it's usually 2 years after a merger. And there's just so much ambiguity, angst. Um, they don't know how to evolve. And when you got two leadership teams coming together in the case of a merger, or the buyout, it just takes a while. And not to give you a big head or anything, but you seem to have the right charismatic listening skills, not forcing people too quick, but you're going to evolve them and make yourself a good competitor or a new competitor.
Well, yeah, I would tell you at 35, I started getting into bigger companies and having these challenges. I would tell you that I did very poorly. I was too fast. I was too aggressive. What I've learned, like when I bought this company, I said to myself, just chill out for 6 months. Just chill out. I'd go and do shipping for a while. And the owner would be like, when are you going to do your stuff? And I said, I'm still learning. And by the way, you've got a lot of good things here. I don't want to mess anything up. Those create that relaxed atmosphere. And I learned those things over time. I turned over enough apple carts to realize that was not a good strategy, right? So, and there's a painful, there's a crisis, there could be great damage done. And I did some damage for sure. So I think experience tells you, people always say, how did you learn that? I said, by failing. I think the other thing I always feel like is people are very reluctant to fail. And I think failing is, you want it contained, you want to evaluate the risk and all that. But I think failing is okay, not only for me, but for my managers. I try to, with the managers, when they fail something, not make them feel like they're going to lose their job or they're being criticized or talk about, boy, we just lost $5,000 in profit or so on and so forth. Because that says to them, Dan's not open. Dan will talks about failing, but when fail happens, he's got energy against me. Right. Or I feel so, trying to get the employees to realize, hey, we're all going to fail, not just me, but everybody. But let's try something. Right.
I think we just evolved this podcast a little bit into modern leadership and
Mhm.
what's effective.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But that's part of it. No, seriously, and that's what I like to talk about because it's not just what are the bottlenecks, how to fix it. It's everything in and around that. They either created the bottlenecks or we're ignoring it, or frankly, we can't address it right now. And good leadership, like what you were talking about, helps people get in and feel comfortable and willing to grind it out to fix the problems, right? Because
Yes.
if you're going to hammer on them, they're not going to be willing to do it. They're going to protect
No.
themselves than digging in, getting in knee deep, and grinding out of the hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason why it comes up is it's just in my DNA. I see a lot of people talking about these things, and I'm just worried that their reaction to failure is going to hurt the effort, and they're going to be alone in that. Right? I don't want to be alone. I need people
Yeah.
around me, and I've got to make sure that let's be honest in business. Sometimes owners or CEOs will give themselves more grace than their employees. I think it should be the opposite. I think when we make mistakes, we should tell them, "Hey guys, I'm really sorry I screwed up," and then go ahead and give the manager a pass. They should say that and do that, but tell them it's okay. Right? We're
Yeah.
learning, we're growing. That dynamic is very difficult in the stress of business.
Of the situation, and a lot of times,
Yeah.
obviously, you come from that 3PL world because I'll say this without apologizing for it. You don't get a customer in the 3PL world that's highly organized and efficient. They already screwed it up for 10 years, 3 different times, and they're probably in the hole about 50 to 100 mil.
Yeah. Yeah. They
When you're using this kind of leadership style, it takes patience to get in there and deal with the people that had already screwed it up. And two, it doesn't get turned around in 3 months or 6 months, but it takes that kind of leadership style that it's okay to fail. We're going to push the edge, but we're going to grind it out together.
I, I'll get, hopefully this is apropos, but we have two bids going on fairly large companies. I will not say the name of either one, of course, but one customer is really screwed up and they know they're screwed up and they're looking for
Yeah.
help. The other company is also screwed up, but they don't have the self-recognition, and they also are driving price and things like that. So, on paper, the one company looks like a better company, but really I want to learn and grow with the company that really understands their challenges. It's
Yeah.
going to be a slower burn. It's probably less revenue, potentially less profit when you took in all the implementation calls and the soft costs. But the ROI later, I believe in the ROI later. They're honest, very honest.
Which is just building a strong relationship. It just takes a little bit of time. Well, as we start to wrap this up, what do you think generally in supply chain or in your industry are the true bottlenecks? And is there a fix for them? And do you think AI can address it? You don't have to hit on all those, but it's food for thought. What are the big bottlenecks or breaks in supply chain in your industry?
I kind of hit on it already, and I think there's a lot of areas to go to, but I'm really focused on forecasting. Suppliers are supposed to instantaneous to need. In our industry, there's not a lot of planning with the customer, and they're not communicating into the supply chain soon enough or well enough. So if, for example, Bell and Canvas, I throw them out, if they can get a forecast over the next 6 months and the customer can really kind of look at their styles, they change styles very often and they have an idea and they go left or they go right. That's so disruptive to the supply chain. And educating the customer on why, bringing Bell and Canvas into that and saying, hey, if you do these things, this is how much value we can bring. So, that's not really a transport discussion, but it comes down to transport. It comes down to, we can optimize a truckload once a month, or we can do this. I mean, all of a sudden your possibilities. So I would say the biggest challenge in the industry is helping the customer understand and bring partners in that feels restrictive. Well, what happens if I have a blue shirt? I decide green's no longer good or I want a different style. That's okay, but don't make that the norm. Make it the 10%. You're the customer. You can do whatever you want. If you see an opportunity, let's jump on it. But 80% of your SKUs have been the same way for 4 years. So why do we count on that being true the next 4 years? And why don't we bring in some partners to help create a scalable and sustainable supply chain?
Well put. So I'm going to call that forecasting. I've always called it demand planning. A little bit of
Demand
the
plan.
same thing, right?
Yep.
Depending on what other company or new words we come up with. I'll run a thesaurus search on that one and give you more.
Well, just
Forecasting,
so you
demand
know,
planning.
I used to use demand planning, but in this vertical, they don't understand that. Forecasting is something that they do. It just doesn't get socialized. So they call it forecasting. They're working on what have we sold in the stores, what sells, what doesn't sell. So to them, that's forecasting, right? So I just changed my language from demand planning to forecasting because there's a forecasting department. I want to plug into that department.
That is a very good point. Use their terms. It's that simple. Anything outside of forecasting that you see as a big, and by the way, you just hit on something that people don't even think about forecasting as part of a supply chain function.
They don't.
And it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Take
How
all
many,
that
go ahead.
take all that conversation internally and make it external. It'll help your suppliers.
And I'm going to quote you when we talk in the future, helping the customer so it doesn't feel restrictive, meaning the processes that you are bringing forward or implementing are not restrictive. You're really talking about the processes, right?
Yep.
And the relationship.
Yep. Because there's sometimes emotion to, well, we don't want to feel like he handcuffed us or so on and so forth. The answer is nope. No, we're looking for gain shares here, but not restricting the process.
So I don't want to make something out of nothing, Daniel, but isn't that a little bit around the AI model, right? It learns on its own and it helps you be more efficient. And it helps you not be so restrictive to using this process continuously. Do you see AI a little bit like that in a learning language model? Get rid of language. That always throws us off. Something that is learning to be more efficient and effective. Is that a little bit where AI takes us? It's not restrictive.
I hope
And
so.
if that is out in left field, go, dude, you're out in left field.
No, that's really good. I hope that AI can help us. I think we think of analysis and we think of that as hard work. I would say that it's necessary work, but if we can get help in that area where that data becomes very quickly available for us, we can find and again, it's hard to explain, but I consider it something that's super important. But I'm also not going to criticize the customer for not doing that. But if they can find that AI can help them be efficient in those things and quickly give them the data, and then they can see the real thing about forecasting, and you're correctly right, is it's a weakness in businesses, is that once they do it, they find the value of it and they start seeing the data. I call them metrics. Once you start seeing the metrics help you with your next job. When you go back, you have more data in front of you. You become much more educated. You make data decisions instead of emotional decisions or hearsay decisions. Go to the data. Where's the data? Does it support that? If salespeople say that this is the hottest product in the world, great. In 6 months, what does the sales say? So when you talk about AI, and we'd already discussed, I'm a little weak on how to use the tool, but I think the answer is yes. If AI can help in this way, I think every company, we could do better on studying the data before we make an emotional statement, right?
Yeah, and especially in forecasting, there are so many big opportunities with AI that learns. Yeah, I'm going to say that because I'm working with it in inventory in retail, and how two of these companies have really. It took a while for the business people to get their thinking caps on in the subject matter, but how AI can learn new things faster and ask questions that the humans aren't, or better yet, the AI is just another set of heads at the table. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that, if you're already using ChatGPT, I'm using that as an example. Boy, does it piss me off how many freaking questions it keeps asking me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the reason where I'm going with all that, there is stuff that a good AI agent learning, especially in forecasting, will continue to just naturally keep bringing forward these questions or inefficiencies that is just the question is asked within seconds after it sees a problem. It isn't like the old school when something just broke and then the humans get in there and start trying to figure out what the hell broke, the integration, or why aren't we keeping between the goalposts, right? In forecasting. I don't mean to get off on that tangent as much as it is. AI has so much it can do for forecasting. It's unbelievable. I think I just got on my little soapbox there.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
In our industry, I'll give you another example. It just popped in my head. So I was just yesterday in a big uniform company, a large one, and I looked at the racks and I saw all the garments there, and the production manager standing next to me, and I said, "How much this stuff doesn't move?" And he went like this, and I said, "What do you think the problem is?" Because I didn't need to ask him, "Is that a problem?" He was clear. He says they go after the garment price because they can get cheap garments, and they don't study the forecast or what you say, the demand chain, and those styles don't move that fast. But they got it for, let's say, 150 a t-shirt or something as an example. If you build in the inventory cost of that square footage and the time and all that, you now pay $2 for the shirt by the time it ships because you're holding it so long. So what I think is, by the way, in our industry and all industries, you got to look at your throughput, and you got to create a just-in-time model as much as possible. And you can't just look at the procurement. I think procurement can be a real bottleneck as well, because they say, well, this was a good deal, or, they're not tied in with the demand chain or the forecasting. And so there's breaks in the process, right? How do you get those things working together? The reason why we're taking on procurement for a lot of companies is that, I had one customer say, we're no good at it. We keep chasing, garment prices, and we get distracted. They send me a PO. I've already forecasted those garments. The distributor is paying for the space and the labor and everything else. All those hard costs actually go away. But if you calculate the cost of the supply chain without proper procurement strategies, I mean, it starts at ordering the garments or planning for that inventory. There's so much opportunity, right? There's just tons of opportunity.
There is, and that's when I get excited. I think that we're really going to see a downturn in AI stocks and everything right now. But I can tell you, after being in it solid since 2020 or late 2020, once the business people start getting their heads into it, you're going to see huge strides forward because they're going to figure out, don't try to take on this, take on that, and perfect it and then grow it out, especially in forecasting. Because in forecasting, you can literally ask the agent to go out and find out what's my total cost of ownership and see how, without asking two business analysts to go figure out total inbound cost, outbound, carrying cost, how much of the DC does that take up, all that stuff. You literally ask AI, you prompt the AI agent to go look in inventory and go look into the other tables. You don't tell it the tables, just go find this freaking crap and bring something back to me
Yep.
instead of I'm being dead serious.
No,
And
no,
when that comes to your mind at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't take that much to bring all that together. Anyways,
I,
I know it, but go ahead.
I think, and this is, I'm speaking to myself and yourself and all humanity. I think AI could help us deal with facts instead of emotions. We're all emotional creatures. So I think what you're saying is how can AI keep us on track, bringing us data and real, it doesn't have emotions. It doesn't like a red versus a blue. It just says blue is moving, or this is what so I think I find that when we have discussions, a lot of people start bringing up emotional, which is fine. God, should we not lose our emotion, right? But it's not applicable in this space. We need more facts and less emotion.
Dude, you just really hit on something there. Facts and not emotions. And you're going to add to what I was going to say. Back in the late 90s, Bill Gates coined a phrase, business at the speed of thought. And that is what AI is that I've come to over the last 4 years. And I need to add to that without emotion. And the reason I say that is like right now, I didn't print out your interview. And I have my little script that I generally like look down at my highlights and keep talking. And because I get very curious, I don't need to be on track like that. And as I clicked on it, all I did was put in ChatGPT, give me a company profile, and I copy and pasted your URL in there. And then I go, what else is going on with the company? And it spit out all this other stuff. And then it started asking me questions. I go, stop with the questions, give me a summary. My point there is this. I was behind because I have anywhere from 8 to 14 calls a day. I can't organize everything perfectly because my day is very chaotic. I don't have a lot of time to think, but I need business at the speed of thought, and I need the facts. And it doesn't have to be all the facts. It has to be with, I just need the facts. I don't need a bunch of extra questions. And to your point, it doesn't need emotion built behind it.
Yeah.
My real point there is that's AI. I'm behind. And then you saw me, I screwed up your company name. I just had your freaking URL stuck in my head and the shit wouldn't get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just helps me. And you can do that
Yep.
same thing with forecasting. Trying to wrap that my real point on forecasting. We're using it in 2 different accounts right now, but it took somebody with your mindset to get there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to give you a big head. You just got to get out the door and go home one day.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation. I mean, probably the best one that I've had in a long time, because I feel like, we need to be talking about these things, right? And it's fun talking and it's fun learning. I've really learned a lot as well. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Likewise. Any closing thoughts now that I've drained you of all bottlenecks within your entire industry?
No, love the discussions. Always got my head here. When I first came in, I was trying to learn manufacturing and learn all the details. And then one day I thought to myself, I've got experts in that. Why don't I use my expertise and add value to the company as well, not just a pitch, right? So I was just telling the manager, I went to dinner with him last night. I said, I've never had more fun right now. It's really fun when you kind of get into what I call a rhythm, and you see yourself adding value, you see the company growing, you see the employees starting to realize, hey, Dan's not crazy. Maybe he knows something. And that's not from a ego side. That's just, comfort side. Like, hey, we're on a good journey here. Right. And so I've rarely been in this position in business. Usually it's with a lot of stress and different things. So I feel like I could tell the team, okay, let's enjoy the ride. Right. But let's keep doing what we're doing and get good at it.
Well, that is some good closing thoughts. I'll bring us to a close and we'll stop the recording and then totally wrap it up. Dan, I appreciate your time. I'm sure the audience will appreciate your time. This should air right after the first of the year. Once I'm able to get in and do some of my own editing, I always make sure I edit the stuff myself, just so I keep those skills up. And I use AI to like get me to the points like real quick. With that said, to our audience, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And I'll do my best to get out an episode every week, starting at the first of the year. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Not you, Dan.
You're listening to Supply Chain Unlocked. Get exclusive insights from industry leaders on overcoming